Here we go. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning, Coach Bragga. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Between Two Hedges. I hope everyone's having a great Thursday. Looking forward to a great chat. As you can see, got head baseball coach Matt Bragga on with us. For those just joining us for the first time, this is a webinar format, so we can't see you or hear you, but we have a Q&A function, and we encourage you to participate and send in your questions. We got some questions sent in early that we'll touch on. We'll start kind of format. We'll start off getting to know Matt a little bit, and then jump into some pertinent stuff in terms of Rice baseball, and then at the end we'll take questions. So excited about it. I've already got one in there. Good morning, Mike and Coach. Dr. Baseball is on the call. Good morning.
Hey, Dr. Baseball. How are you?
So Matt, we'll jump right into it, man. I know, we've got a bunch of fun stuff to touch on. I think one thing that gets overlooked that you haven't spoke about publicly, at least to our group, is your college career and your playing career. You were actually a pretty decent college player and had a stint in the pros, huh?
Yeah, Mike, I could always hit, and defense, they never found a home for me. So, I caught, I played third, first, left, right, and DH'd. The great news about that is it's helped me in my coaching career. The bad news is it ended my playing career probably prematurely. So, but yeah, I went to Kentucky. I actually walked on at Kentucky. That's a long story. We'll get into another day at another time, but ended up having a good career there. My last year, I was second in the SEC in hitting, and ended up
408.
What's that?
408. That was the average.
408. Yes, sir. Yeah, and that was against league competition. Believe it or not, I was a little better against league competition than I was outside the league. I think my batting average SC was like 363 or something like that. Yeah. But 408 in league play. So, yeah.
And so I know we've joked around about it, in terms of your 408 in league play. You're the second ranked, second in the conference in batting average. But the scouts at that time used the human element and looked at you and said, hey, his swing's kind of wanky. I'm not sure if that will work. And ultimately they were right. I know you joked about that a little bit yesterday. Talk on that.
Yeah. So I've told Mike before, guys, that in today's game, a guy that hits second in the SEC in hitting, he'd be a top 5 round draft pick, period. Analytics are so big today, that would have been the end of the story. Well, back in the day, maybe it worked better. Maybe the old system was better, Mike, because back in the day, my batting stance, I'd have my hands in front of my face, kind of this way. And I think it scared a lot of scouts. And I think you just said it, Mike. I joke a lot because my second year of pro ball, I ended up hitting only 248. And because I was a free agent and they had no money invested in me, they said, yeah, okay, see you, bud. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, the scouts, the human element was right. And so I tip my hat to them. But in today's game, they probably would have messed up on me and taken me high in the draft when maybe they shouldn't have.
Or you worked out okay. So for everyone joining us on the call, appreciate it. Good morning. Got Coach Matt Bragga on here. There's a Q&A function, so feel free to participate. Please put your questions in the chat. We'll get to them either during the call or towards the back end. So Matt, all right, so you wrap up. You got a 2-year stint with the Reds. You wrap up and you get your coaching career going. Work us through that path a little bit, man. Where did that take you?
Yeah, so I was working on my master's at the University of Alabama. It's where my wife was going to school and running cross country and track. And as I was doing that, I volunteered at a high school. Then because of that position, I had a guy say, hey, you should coach this junior American Legion team. And that position, because of one of the boys on the team that eventually ended up being a first-round draft pick with the Orioles, his dad helped get me involved in a junior college head coaching job that was open right after that. And I even told the guy, I'm like, I'll never get this job. Like, I'm 25 years old. I have really no coaching experience except the junior American Legion team, which was big back in the day. But that's all I had, one season. And we were really good. We won the state championship, but even so. And he's like, oh, you never know. He had an in with the athletic director, right? And sometimes you need that. But I remember Mike talking to the athletic director for the first time. It was Bevel State Community College. They were the worst program in the state of Alabama, out of 21 schools. And I remember my first conversation with him. I was so excited, but I was so nervous I stuttered and could hardly talk the whole time. And I got off the call. My wife, she goes, "How'd that go?" I said, "Not very good." I said, "We won't be hearing back from them," because I hardly could say anything. I was so excited and nervous at the same time because I wanted it so badly. But as the plan would be, got the job, and I was the only coach, making really not much money. But we turned the program around, had some great young men that they still keep in touch with me. I keep in touch with them to this day. And then that led to an assistant coaching job at Birmingham Southern. There I was with Brian Shoup, who just retired as UAB's head coach. There I was with another assistant coach was Butch Thompson, who's the head coach at Auburn, and then myself. So we had a heck of a staff. We won the NAI National Championship, all that good stuff, became a Division I program, took over at Tennessee Tech, and there were some struggles early, but we got that thing into, honestly, my last 11 years at Tennessee Tech, out of 10 Division I schools in the state of Tennessee, we had the second best winning percentage behind only Vanderbilt. And actually the last 5 times we played Vanderbilt, we beat them 3. So anyway, it's been a good run, and it's led to where my family and I are at today.
No doubt. And we talked about Tennessee Tech. You take that program to a game away from the.
Sorry, Mike.
Much success. No worries. A lot of success. You get the call about the Rice job, right? You get the call about this program, the legendary Rice baseball program, and the job, the work that Wayne Graham put in to build this thing. What attracted you, right? Like, yeah, we talked about a little bit. What stood out? You're like, this is a place I would love to be.
Well, it's one of those things. When I got the call from Rice, you automatically listen. My family and I wouldn't leave Tennessee Tech for any job. We had built that thing into a great power, had been there 15 years, had been there a long time. Got off to a rough start, but that made it all the more enjoyable, the last 11 years of great success. But when you get a call from a program like Rice, because of what Wayne Graham has built, he built a program that has reached Omaha 7 times, has a national championship, has averaged over the last 20 years, roughly 7 guys drafted a year. When you get a call from a program like that, you listen and you dream. You have goals as you're coming up the ranks, and a goal of mine was to coach at a program like Rice. And so when Joe, Carl Gard, and Rick Mello called me, it was a pretty easy listen, and I was excited to get the interview. Came on the interview. Obviously, things went well, and I was very excited. My family and I were to accept this position at such a great institution and such a great baseball program.
No doubt. I think so. We haven't talked about. I think something funny that maybe the group doesn't know. Go behind the curtain a little bit. Is that you've made it a point to keep those jerseys. You've made it a point to keep the script R and to keep the old Adidas unis, and even as stuff transitions, like, no, I will not. I will keep that. That's tradition, right?
There's no telling how long I'm going to be able to hold on to that.
I know you love it, man.
I really do, because I think there's something to it. It's iconic a little bit, as you watch it on TV, as you're growing up as a college baseball fan, and you see the pinstripes and the R and the Rice script, the old English script. It's just, there's iconic to that. There's, a part of, iconicness to that, if that's even a word, but it's just awesome. And so I've done my best to hold on to that, but we got this new logo, and who knows, maybe we'll surprise some people in the near future with some new gigs. The one thing about it is I've heard some college football coaches talk, and they're like, hey, do you want tradition in your uniforms, or do you like the newness of some alternate styles? And one coach who I greatly respect in college football says, listen, I love tradition, but young men these days, young women these days, they like some alternative uniforms. So you never know what might be around the corner, Mike.
I love it. Well, I know whatever we have on, it'll look good, man. Hey, talk about Coach B. I think the fact that your father is a part of your staff and has been a part of your staff is so cool, man. So talk a little bit about the origin of that and what he means to you to have him by your side day in, day out.
Yeah. So, Coach B, for those of you that don't know, is my dad. And he has been with me since, I'm trying to think, we got the job at Tennessee Tech in 2004. He joined my staff there maybe in '08, '07, somewhere in that time frame. And one of the main reasons for that, Mike, is number one, I love my dad. I respect my dad. I think incredible wisdom with what he can bring to a program. But I told Coach B, I didn't have any assistant coaches my first 11 years, full-time. I had no full-time assistant coaches my first 11 years at Tennessee Tech, none. And so I called him up. I was running through guys because they didn't get paid very well. And I said, Coach B, number one, I need your wisdom. Number two, I need you to take some things off my plate so I can coach baseball and recruit. And so I said, can you get mom and my grandma to move down? My papa had passed away, a few years earlier. And he's like, I guarantee I can. So Coach B has been with me since '07. And it's been wonderful. His roles have changed. Everything from top assistant to second assistant to volunteer assistant to, director of personal development, professional development, player development, all kinds of different roles. And right now he's in a volunteer role for us, director of player development. And he does a wonderful job. He was a high school principal for 25 plus years, really connects to young men. He's basically my dugout coach, kind of like Don Zimmer for Joe Torre back in the day when the Yankees were really winning. If you need some wisdom, ask Don Zimmer. In our case, you need a little bit of wisdom that maybe an older guy can bring, ask Coach B. So I've been really fortunate and blessed to have him and my family by my side.
So cool, man. That's so. Hey, one question for you. I'm asking everybody, who was your favorite athlete growing up?
Don Mattingly.
Easy. That was easy. That was like this.
Yeah, it came out easy. And I'll tell you what, there are probably two. One, when I was younger, was Thurman Munson. Thurman Munson, the catcher for the Yankees who died in the plane crash. He grew up in Northeast Ohio, which is where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And he then played at Kent State, and then he was with the Yankees. Thurman Munson, for anyone that ever wants to know why I like the Yankees, it's because of Thurman Munson. But that led to a love of the Yankees, which led to a love of Don Mattingly. And I styled my hitting after Don Mattingly. And Mattingly was a little funky. He was in a crouch. He was down low. But I love the guy. I think he's a great baseball guy, incredible hitter.
Awesome. All right. So got to know you a little bit. Let's turn our attention to Rice baseball. All right. And so we've talked and we've been candid about it. We'll touch first on the 2020 season. Right. And we've both spoke about it. There was no satisfaction in the way that ended. But I know you feel strongly about what the second half could have brought if we were able to complete a season. I'll let you touch on what the 2020 season looked like for you and now kind of dealing with COVID, and we'll transition into the future.
Yeah. So as with any year, like you have high hopes going into the season, like you do. And I've always let our players set the goals. The culture is set, the vision of the program is set. But I think you want ownership from your program and your players, and you do that by getting them involved in goal setting, team goal setting, things of that nature. And they, they're kind of led down a path. They know what goals are and what we want to accomplish. But this was a good group of young men. We're not where we need to be yet. I understand that. I recognize that. Like that's just kind of part of it. But I will say this, Mike, even though we're not where we need to be, and I don't mean that from a preparation standpoint, a systematic standpoint. I mean that from maybe we're just not quite where we need to be yet. We got to keep getting better. So we started out the year 2-14, and no excuses, but it was against the 10th toughest schedule in America out of 300 Division I programs. So it was a challenging, daunting schedule. And with that being said, though, we expect to be able to compete and beat anybody. And we've got work to do to get there. But we did have an easier stretch coming up. It is what it is. The rest of our schedule was not going to be the 10th best in the country. Not that it got easy. I don't mean it that way. But I would have loved, Mike, to have let these young men play out the season and see what could happen. Because we're getting judged, and that's okay. It's part of our business. I mean, I'm watching 15U baseball, our son. And I'm like, I wonder why the coach left that guy in. That's part of our profession. And it's part of the great thing about sports is you have the armchair quarterbacks, right? And so, but we are getting judged off of a 2-14 record. I don't know, what is that, 30%, 28% of a regular season, not counting postseason. And that's fine, no problem. But I always go back to, and this will is in my mind because it's the way I work. I'm always looking for, hey, what could be? You know, these guys were bought in. We haven't had anyone just up and leave the program. Like that, what the culture is incredibly good. Guys that are done, that are seniors, that COVID is allowing to come back next fall, they're coming back. If the culture was bad, they'd be out of here. They'd be transferring. They would be gone. But Brad Knighting entered the transfer portal. Guess what? He's coming back. You know, Rodrigo DeLuke, I just found this out yesterday, but he had entered the transfer portal, but he told me, you know what, coach, I'm coming back. That was the last word. Now he decided to take a job. He told me yesterday. But anyway, so it's a good culture right now. The Washington Nationals, Mike, started out this past year, and we all know this from Anthony Rendon, 19-31 in their first 50 games of the year. They had been written off. They had the 14th worst record out of 15 teams in the National League. 19-31. Oh, the Nationals stink. They're done. Forget about them. Well, guess what? They had played 30% of their season. They end up going on, as we all know, to win the Major League Baseball World Series. So that's why I'm like, hey, doggone, I'm not saying we were good enough to win Omaha. That is not what I'm saying. But I would have loved to have seen where this season had gone. And I think that's a reason a lot of our veterans are excited to come back. Hey, coach, we've got some business to still take care of. And I love that mentality.
Without doubt. And that transitions, right? Like I think you spoke on it. You know, there's no satisfaction. There's a taste in y'all's mouth from the way that season ended and what you anticipated, the way it could have potentially drawn out if given the opportunity to play that full slate of games. So now you look towards 2021, right? You bring back a core group of players that are hungry. You bring back you bring in a tremendous recruiting class that, I remember a year and a half ago or so when we spoke and you said, hey, I'm really excited about recruiting's going. I look at this class and there's a chance that we have a future 4-hole hitter. We got a future Friday night guy, future set. There's a lot of things that could work out if given the right opportunity. So you have that come in, and then you have, you got Walsh coming. You've got essentially, the top prospect actually, step foot on Rice's campus coming into the class here. So a lot of excitement. I know you're excited about it, but I know you want to, you're also you're raising your expectations based off of the performance of where the kids can grow. But talk a little bit about 2021 and what this look like.
Well, no, that's great, Mike. And I'll go back a little bit because one thing that can affect the season's health of players. And we missed, Roel Garcia is an incredibly talented young man, and he ended up throwing 2 innings this past spring and kind of didn't, wasn't healthy. And so, he should be back at full strength next spring, which we're really excited about because he's a top level talent. He's a difference maker. He's a Friday night starter in college baseball. So, I'd be remiss not to mention a young man like him that'll be new to us. I've seen him throw 2 innings in my 2 years in this program. And so I'm excited to watch what he brings to our program next season. Dalton Wood was a really talented freshman for us in 2019. He didn't pitch at all last year. And he's back. I just saw him last week, and he's like, Coach, I'm doing great. I'm healthy. And so, right now he's healthy. He's back. And so we're excited about even those additions that we didn't have last year. So those are key guys that we're excited about. Jack Conlon, 98 mile per hour, 4th round out of high school. He was out. And sad news on him. I just heard this, I guess it was 2 days ago. Jack is going to have to medical DQ. He's going to end his career. The shoulder's just not recovering. So we're sad by that. Jack's a great young man. We wish him the best. Credible person. From a recruiting standpoint, right now we have a core group of 8 freshmen coming in that is really good group. As long as I've been coaching college baseball 25 years, it'll be the best core group of freshmen I've ever had on campus. Now, that should happen. Like when you asked me earlier, what about Rice? What makes it attractive? Well, it's easier to recruit at Rice than it is at Tennessee Tech, period. Bottom line, because of what Coach Graham built, because of the tradition here, because of the academics here, because of the university, because of the stadium. Like there's so many great things about this place. So the 8 young men we have coming in, boy, they got a chance to be difference makers. All 4 pitchers, they're right-handed, but they're right now low 90s guys, which is huge. a couple of them have a chance to make big jumps in their careers. So we're excited about that. We have 4 offensive position players coming in that'll be freshmen. And, Guy Garibay right now is playing in a Texas Collegiate League, Houston Premier Texas Collegiate League, and is having a great summer, tearing it up, actually. Nathan Becker is a freshman coming in, first baseman, left-handed hitter as well, like Guy. He's actually, as of last week, was leading that same league in hitting. And this is a league that has guys that are juniors, sophomores, returning freshmen, and then high school freshmen, like high school to be college freshmen coming in. And he's leading that league in hitting. So there's some really good young guys coming in. Then to top it off, we've got a weekend starter from Penn. He's been a weekend starter all 4 years that he was at Penn. He's a grad transfer. His name is Mitchell Holcomb. He'll be coming in, joining our staff, and he's with Round Rock this summer, playing with the Texas Collegiate League in Round Rock. And just last night, they're keeping his pitch count down, but he threw 4 innings, gave up 1 hit, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He's leading that league in ERA so far, early through 2 appearances in 7 innings. But Mitchell has a chance to pitch on the weekends for us and be special. We've got a young man, Connor Walsh, coming in, who, as Mike, you mentioned, he will be the top-rated recruit to ever step foot on Rice campus. And Anthony Rondon was not rated higher. We had a recruit at Rice maybe 10 years ago that was the #1 ranked recruit in the country, but he got drafted so high, he signed and was gone, so never stepped foot on campus. This young man was the 27th ranked prospect coming out of high school in 2019. And so we're really excited about Connor. This might not mean a lot to everyone, but he runs a 6.2 60. That is elite speed. Like, that is college track speed. And so, that's an element that'll be nice to have. He's a shortstop / center fielder. We've got a transfer from LSU who started 110 games for them, Hal Hughes. He started 110 games for LSU his freshman sophomore year. And then the bottom line is they brought in a hotshot freshman that was ranked really high. And they told him, hey, listen, this kid's in front of you. And so Hal's like, hey, I want to go play. I want to go contribute. And so we're fortunate to have gotten Hal coming into our program. And, not to mention a few others that we have coming in. So it's an exciting group that we got a young man, Will Carp, from Haverford College up in the Northeast. It's a Division III school. He's the young man that everyone overlooks. Division III. Hey, the dude can play. And had Division III completed their year, we're quite certain that we feel like he'd have been maybe the player of the year in all of Division III baseball. So it's a good group, and we're really excited, Mike.
It's very, very great. So funny story, I bring back, you talk about Roel. Last year before the season, you and I and Tori and Houston went to Austin, and I remember, Royal was still recovering, and you told me, like, I'm finally getting to see Royal throw pens. I'm like, what do you think? And, like, no hesitation, you look, it's elite. It is elite. He's throwing elite pens right now. And I remember how, like, that fired me up. I remember how fired up you were. But you talk about, Royal being a big piece. Now as we look, obviously you look towards the future. You got 2020, 2021 coming. One thing you want to harp back on a little bit is, Walsh coming in. He's got big shoes to fill. He had a great shortstop and Trey Cruz being drafted. Talk about how proud you were of the way that the work Trey put in and him getting drafted by the Tigers.
Oh, it's awesome. And if you think about it, like, to watch him continue to improve and get better. And that is, a lot of times coaches get credit for that. And, at the end of the day, the young man's got to go out and do it. And that young man has incredible drive, incredible passion for this game. And he'll joke and say, hey, I want to be the best Cruz ever to play the game. But he means it. Like, he means that. But he knows that it's only going to happen through work ethic and drive. And, the great thing about Trey, Mike, that probably goes unnoticed, he's got his dad that helps him. I love that. My ego's not that big. Like great, that's a great relationship. We've got a 15-year-old son. I hope someone understands that I love to help him, So he's got a grandpa that hey, can go throw him BP anytime he wants. But at the same point in time, something that needs to be said, that young man was coachable. like from Coach Yanish to Coach Bragga to Coach B to Coach Barton, whatever it may have been. And I give him, like, there's a lot of kudos for that with who he is and who he has in his house to already coach him. No ego. He left that at the door. He came out, was a great leader for us. He will be a big leaguer, and he will have an impact with the Tigers or wherever he lands in Major League Baseball. I believe that. And I won't put it past him to be an all-star or to end up being better than his grandpa and his dad. Great young man, incredible person.
That's fantastic, man. Hey, so we have a few questions we want to get to them. We got a few in the chat, one that sent in last night. So Mark Mariani, you got gifted a book called Full Count, The Education of a Pitcher by David Cohn. Led him to ask, is it a book that you and Corey Barton have read? Or if not, are there any readings or anything that your players are reading over the summer to benefit their experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have not read that book, and I have a full library. One thing I pride myself on is always improving. I think, personal development, right? Professional development, things of that nature. So I'm the guy that's got all the ABCA convention videos. I'm the guy that, if I see something that I know or a baseball person I know, I will follow and learn from them. And books, love to read books. That is not a book I have. Now, I will say this, we have not, to answer the question about our players reading a book this summer, that type of thing, we have not had them read books this summer. I've done that some in the past. Typically, the books that we have them read might be mental imagery type books. Ken Ravizza is a big mental game guy, where guys can get better mentally by reading books and trying to put that into play throughout summer ball and then when they return to campus, because it's something I believe in with a great deal. I have a great deal of respect for and believe in it. So those are things that we'll push. But this summer, we do not have them reading things. We will have occasional Zoom meetings. We were doing them fairly regularly, and now we've backed off just a little bit on those and let them breathe. They've got their plans on what they're to be doing, strength, conditioning, baseball-wise, even mental game-wise, so a daily plan on all of those things, but no reading this summer. Now, listen, I'm not putting it past us to do it throughout the school year, over Christmas break, something of that nature, but this summer, no.
And so with, you mentioned the summer, right, with COVID, the impact it's had on different facets of your coaching style or the program. Talk a little about a question Jimmy Dish wrote in here, Dr. Baseball, just on the camps. How's that impacted your camp structure? What have you guys, how have you adjusted?
Yeah, that's been a difficult thing because, as you know, we're not allowed to have camps at Rice. And so I'm very grateful. The Harris County Senior Softball League has allowed us to use, they have 2 fields at Bayland Park, and they've allowed us to use their 2 fields. And it's actually an incredible setup, to be honest, but it's not Reckling Park. And so numbers are way down. Last year we probably averaged over 100 young men at 8 camps. And this year we've only had 1 camp so far, and it had 37. And so camps have been significantly impacted. We've got another one coming up this week, and it's right now at 32. And then we just have 1 more. So we're going to have 3 camps. The numbers are going to be in the 30s to low 40s. But it's been good. The one thing I'll say, whoever comes to those camps, they're going to learn baseball, they're going to get energy, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And so that doesn't change. It's just like when you go speak, let's say you're motivational speaking to somebody. If only 2 people show up, well, guess what? Those 2 people are going to get a whale of a time, as the same as if there were 2,000 people. I feel the same way about camp. If there's 100 plus, well, guess what? They're going to get a great camp experience. If there's 30, those kids are going to have an unbelievable camp experience. So we're giving it everything we've got, Mike. And Jimmy, thanks for the question.
Matt, well, I'll tell you what, man, I'm fired up to take on this Thursday, buddy, and I'm excited for Bryce Baseball to return to Reckling Park. Really excited for that. We're
Me too.
One, to stay healthy, to stay, to look after each other, and hopefully, we're back at Reckling come spring and watching you guys compete. For everyone on the call, appreciate you guys taking the time. Matt, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do it again next Thursday. I'll have JP Abercrombie, our Assistant Athletic Director of Student Athlete Development, on with me. As always, take care of each other, stay healthy, go Owls.
Right, go Owls. Thanks,
Wow.
Mike.
Thanks,
See
y'all.
you, buddy.